back to another podcast. Today with me, I have Rob and Diane and myself, Elia. Yeah, it's going to be a great podcast. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. Please ignore my camera. It's doing some crazy stuff, but it'll be fine. I do want to remind you guys, click that like, subscribe, the bell thingy. It helps us a lot, and we can keep doing this stuff. And ask us questions, please. Write in the comments what you want us to talk about. If you have any questions about Japan, Sweden, the US, whatever, just let us know, and we'll answer your questions. Especially if they're funny, then we'll definitely answer them.
We appreciate the humor here.
Yes, we do. So I have an interesting topic in mind. I've seen a lot of questions and a lot of people asking me about moving to Japan and succeeding in Japan, which I think is quite an interesting topic. So Japan, as you guys know, is a very unique place compared to most countries in the world. They do have a different work culture than most other countries, and succeeding in Japan might not be as easy as you might think, right? But first, let's see what is success. You know what I mean? Like, what is succeeding in Japan? So basically, I would say succeeding in Japan is just staying for more than a year. Honestly, legally, of course. Please don't stay illegally. That's not good in any country. Yeah, well, if you're fleeing, okay, not like political, whatever. But
I mean, like, some people let their visas expire and they just stay and don't do anything about it until they get deported, which is not a good idea. So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Probably not.
Well, it's up to you. You do you, but probably not. So when I say staying in Japan for more than a year, I mean, so a lot of people come to Japan with these ideas, right? So they come here, they want to be anime, whatever, right? They want to design, or they want to draw, or they want to direct, or whatever, right? They have a lot of ideas coming to Japan. Or some people just want to work in a company or whatever, right? A lot of people come to Japan with a teacher's visa, just like we did, right? The problem there is, instructor's visa. That's the correct terminology for it. The problem with that is, for about a year or so, you're working as a teacher, and that maybe is not your thing, and you might get tired after a while. And some people just get very homesick. We had those people in our first company, the one we worked for. A lot of people I met in orientation and stuff left after a couple of months, or after the year or whatever, because they couldn't handle the homesickness or whatever, right?
Yeah, a lot of them, actually, a good amount.
Yeah.
After 1 year,
I would say
couldn't stay.
Yeah, the large majority, I would say, leave after, within the first year, like when their contract is over or before the contract is over. I knew a guy who was, like, the first day we met, was super excited for Japan and everything. And while orientation was going on for a week, he kind of was like, oh, what have I gotten myself into? And he left during orientation. Like, he's been in Japan for 3 to 4 days.
That plane
I think,
get money. Ooh.
Yeah. I would say just know what you're getting yourself into. It's not bad. Japan is definitely not bad in any way, but if you get homesick really easily, or if this is the first time you move out alone, maybe take some extra steps or measures or whatever, right? It might help.
It was my first time too. Like, first time in Japan was me moving here, and I didn't take extra steps, but I wasn't homesick. I was like, nah, I did this, so I'm gonna stick with it.
That's awesome.
I'm still here now. Just fight. Be strong.
Fight.
You got it. They won't kick you out.
Yeah, that's I mean, if you want it, then do it, right? Just be here, exist.
Exist. Live.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to go home and eventually going home. Like, it's 100% okay, and it's okay to feel like homesick, and it's just. And I think that's why I wanted to have that culture shock episode before, because when we got here, our company and other companies, they use some scare tactics to make sure that you're mentally ready to be in a new place that's going to do things differently. Is it the best way to go about it? Maybe not. Probably not. Most likely it's not. Don't let the pressures get to you in that way. It's okay to want to go home because you miss things. That's 100% fine. But don't have the mentality of, I can't survive here, because you totally can. Japan's not that scary. There's a lot of good things about it. That's all I wanted to say.
It's actually very livable. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I don't speak the language. It's such a different culture. Yes, and yes to both of those. But the thing is, just like any other country, as soon as you put yourself out there, as soon as you get used to it, it's just like any other country. Like, okay, modernized country. I have to say something like that, right? Of course, there are other countries a lot more difficult to live in, and Japan is not one of them. What I would say is, when you join one of these companies, they'll try to, just as Rob said, scare you into submission, basically, or scare you into believing that Japan is different from what it is. Me, who lived in Japan before I joined this company, I was so shocked to see what they had to show us and say, because I was like, wow, that's not true at all, right? So they're like, be careful where you drink, and if you drink in public, the police will get you, and then you'll get fired. No, and no. that doesn't happen whatsoever in Japan.
It doesn't.
And also they're like, yeah, if the police catch you, you have to do this and that. Like I've never had any problems whatsoever, right? If you're just a normal person, you're not doing anything wrong, you won't have any issues at all. You'll be fine. You'll be okay.
The thing to think about is common sense, right? If you have to just take into account common sense, if it seems like it's a sketchy idea or a bad idea, guess what? Probably is. Don't do it.
It probably is.
You want to ride your bike while drunk? Guess what? That's going to cause a problem, because you shouldn't be doing that when you're drunk.
It's illegal.
That's just an example.
I saw a lot of people comment about living in Japan and the racism in Japan, right? I don't want to touch too much about racism, because I think the three of us haven't, I can just talk about myself, but I haven't really experienced it in that regard, right? So if we divide up racism into two parts, direct and indirect racism, right? Of course, a lot more whatever, right? But these are just the two I want to bring up. You will very, very rarely have someone come up to your face and say something to you which is racist, right? No one will ever, they won't be like, hey, you European scum or whatever, right? They won't say anything like that. You might maybe be rejected from going into a specific establishment, which is not very common at all, but I've heard it happened. It hasn't happened to me, I have to say that too. And the whole housing deal, which we talked about in a previous episode, where you might not be able to rent an apartment, a specific apartment, because you're a foreigner, or get a contract with maybe a phone company, or maybe, in my case, a water cooler, because you're not Japanese, right? I don't know if I told the water cooler story, but
I don't know. Not. I forgot he was on the podcast.
Yeah. Long story short, I drink a lot of water. I'm a hydro homie. I love water. I went up to this guy and I was like, I want this water cooler. We talked for 20 minutes. He brought up the contracts and papers and everything. He's like, oh, we need a Japanese person to sign this. I was like, then why have we been talking for 20, 30 minutes? What's the point, right? Of course, I got it sorted at the time. Wasn't that big of a deal. But it was just a hassle, just an annoying thing. He could have just told me from the beginning, hey, dude, I'm happy you're interested, but you need a Japanese person to sign on this, whatever, right? So yeah, that's the kind of racism you might expect, right? So yeah. Also, work-life balance in Japan isn't the best. I would say if you come to Japan with, I want to succeed, yes, you'll probably be able to succeed, but if you're used to having long vacations and you're used to working your 9 to 5 and you leave at 5, and you might be in for a treat. You know what I mean? You might be seeing things differently very quickly. Just as Diane said in a previous episode, sometimes the work she's at closes at different times depending on the clientele, how long they're there, right?
Yeah.
So
it's always depending on who stays, the customers. Because we would never just close while a customer or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 are still there enjoying their time. It's not really a thing. We just wait until they're gone.
You can't force anyone out in that kind of business. Yeah.
And it's not only the service industry. This is in every aspect of Japanese work culture, right? People stay until 2 a.m. You know, they start at 8, but they're there at 2 a.m. and they don't go home. They just sleep at the office. I've done it. Guilty. You know, it's so if you feel like you really want that good work-life balance, some companies do give you that, but do check in advance. That's all I have to say, because some overtime isn't even paid in Japan. So you might be in for a treat when you've been working for 30 hours and you only get paid for 20 of those, right? Because the other 10 are overtime or whatever. It might happen, so be careful of that too. This is something very interesting, which we have, I think all 3 of us seen more or less. It's criticism. I know Rob has a lot of good stories about that. Criticism in Japan in the workplace is quite interesting. It's quite normal to get criticized for what you're doing, not because you're a bad employee or because you suck at what you do. It's just not the way the boss wants it, or it's not just, maybe it is perfect, but there's one little tiny mistake, or not even a mistake, or a difference, which might not be acceptable. And they'll tell you. They'll definitely let you know. And maybe in the West, maybe we're used to more of like a smooth, constructive criticism type, where they'll be like, hey, you should maybe think about this and that. I've experienced personally, when we're like 3-4 people at a meeting and someone says something and the boss looks at that person and is like, you're an idiot. Just straight out, just like, you're an idiot, fix this, great work, by the way. That's all one sentence, That's just the way they talk, that's just the way they are. In some cases, not everyone, but it happens. So don't get offended. They don't mean anything negative in that regard, but if you're very sensitive, maybe take a breath or 2 before you answer, because it might hurt your feelings. Someone calling you stupid might not be the best thing, and they will not call you baka, because that's not a very normal word in Japanese. If you're an anime watcher and you think that's what people say in Japan, no, it's not. Watch our anime episode for more on that information.
True.
So Rob, why don't you just let us know about some constructive and unconstructive criticism in Japan?
All right, boys and girls, I have a story. No, what I want to say about it is there is a story involved, but now I never personally studied business structure or anything like that. This is just based off of my own observations, and being involved with other companies and businesses and different departments inside and outside of Japan. Now, from an American perspective, looking at business, I feel like there are departments and there are people ahead of these departments. And of course you have your CEO and you have your founders and all that stuff. And ultimately, yeah, they would have the final say in something. But every issue does not go to the CEO. There are people within their own field that make their decisions, unless if it's a really big, like, business changing thing, right?
Yeah.
From my perspective in Japan, yes, there are businesses that have these different departments, and they have their tasks, but when it comes to new ideas and permissions to do anything, you throw all that out the window. Departments don't matter. because the CEO has the final say, and everyone has to go ask the CEO if this decision's okay. Doesn't matter which department it is. They all need to find out the final answer from one person, probably one person. And my
which
point
is very busy, by the way.
Which is very busy, and in my point of view, kind of broken. It works for them. They've been doing it, but it's very old-fashioned, and in my opinion, it's a waste of time or a bad decision, especially if your CEO is not the sharpest tool in the shed. And I'm only saying that because I've dealt with some. Not all of them, but some in Japan who think they're like know everything, and then turns out you're really good at marketing but bad at everything else. Sorry to break it to you. You know. However, from my standpoint, when it comes to criticism and things like that, companies tend to have these meetings, long meetings, multiple meetings in a week, which hinders progress and what they're actually doing, because they keep reviewing things over and over and over again. And no matter what anyone presents, it's all going to come down to that one guy saying yes or no at the end of the day, at the end of the week rather, because it takes that long, right? Now, working in a company where I'm not in any manager position, I'm just a teacher, and I would sometimes sit in on these meetings. I'm not just a teacher, but I'm also a teacher who's not from here, not from Japan, right? So, in all honesty, my opinion does not matter to them. I'm just being 100% honest. Now, does that stop me from speaking my mind? No, because I'm me and I'm stubborn. Also very passionate. I usually mean it from a good place. So I've been in situations where my boss would say, okay, we're going to be doing this. What does everyone think? And then everyone says either nothing, go silent, or they're just like, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm over here actually, your plan doesn't work because of this, this, and this. What are we going to do to back up these 3 problems I just said? We should come up with something now so we don't have to worry about this later. And then they'd be like, oh, well, we'll talk about it later. And then we don't. And then I get pulled to the side and they're like, we don't really like your negativity in the meeting. And I'm like, it's pointing out the obvious flaws and wanting to talk about it now so it doesn't become more work for everyone else later. But there's a lot of people that don't like to be questioned. This was the CEO's idea. Don't question the CEO. His ideas are never wrong. And that's kind of what it is in the business place here in Japan, from my perspective.
There's a hierarchy system.
There is a hierarchy. Yes, absolutely. You don't disobey the king. And
some people might be listening and might be like, but of course it's the CEO who makes the decisions. But I'll tell you this. Working with Rob now for such a long time and doing this whole business thing and everything, Rob has great ideas. I'm just saying. A lot of ideas we bring to the table and Rob edits them and puts them out. It's really good. We've done really well with. So I know Rob. The thing is, Rob is a special guy. Rob is special in his own right. Very intelligent, very, very straightforward.
He's getting paid to say that.
I'll PayPal me later.
I'll give you that sweet 50.
Yes, 50 what? Yeah, no, I hope not.
That's all I have.
No, but what I wanted to say is that in Japan, being straightforward is not the easiest way to communicate because it's seen as rude or inappropriate, which is quite different maybe, because I know in Sweden people would rather say something in the beginning than actually have to revise it later and fix it later, right? Which Rob was trying to get into a bit.
Right. That's just my way of thinking, but
yeah, exactly. And so the thing is, being a worker in Japan, being a teacher, for example, like Rob was before for that company, if you get criticized or they pull you aside and be like, hey, your negativity ain't too good, and then you're like, no, but I want to do this and I'm thinking about the company. Now when you're defending yourself, you're actually ruining it more for yourself, basically, in Japan. When you defend yourself, when you're trying to come up with, just being like, hey, no, I'm just trying to do this, they kind of lose respect for you for some reason, because you're just supposed to do what you're told in some ways. And I'm not saying this is in all businesses. I'm saying this is what can happen if you're in a business situation, which Rob was in, and I've been in before too. Fortunately, I'm one of those people who I live by the motto, I don't give a peep. So if they're like, do you have any ideas? And I know they don't listen, I don't care. I'm just sitting in the back, I'm like, can we go home now? Here is where it might work. Seniority, right? We've talked about this before. Working at a company for many, many, many years, like Japanese people usually do. I've met people who've only worked for one company their whole life. I know in the West, we're encouraged to switch jobs quite often because experience and a higher pay raise and et cetera, right? It's good for you. And coming from a business background, guys, do switch jobs when you have the opportunity to. It's good for you. It's good for your future. It's good because you can keep getting better pay and experience, etc. But that's not important. Back to Japan.
They stay with their jobs for a while, even though they don't like the pay, don't like the days off or whatever, schedule, how they're treated. But they stay for like 20 years.
And part of that is it's the complete opposite in Japan, at least traditionally, where, in the West, Elia was saying that we switch jobs for that experience. In Japan, it's the complete opposite, where if you're switching your job too often, they think you're not reliable and that you'll like betray your company. And there's like a weird stigma to
loyalty.
Loyalty is huge. Whether or not you get along with the people you work with, if your job's boring or if your job's super difficult or they put all the work on you, whatever that is, if you leave, you have no excuse. You just betrayed everybody. And it's it's changing a little bit now with some people I've talked to, but generally you don't do it.
Younger companies, I might say. Younger companies are more. Yes. And also a lot of companies are adapting to different company types. Just like our company, we are quite flexible. We're quite foreign, I would say, to the Japanese market. So let me just give you an example. If you quit your job in Sweden, after like they'll have like a whole goodbye thing for you. They'll buy some presents, you'll have some dinner, whatever. You hang out with the people. The boss wishes you good luck, gives you a reference paper like, hey, if you ever need me to talk to your next boss, let me know. That's Sweden. When I quit my job in Japan, the boss took me to the side. He's like, are you sure? What's happening? It's not good for your image. The people need you. Like, your coworkers are gonna get sad. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it was like a whole different view from what I'm used to. And I was like, I looked at all my coworkers. No one gives a F if I'm here or not. It's a job. At the end of the day, if you're friends with someone at work, you can still be friends if you're working at different jobs. It's more the company wants you to stay because you've been doing something and they need you for it, but you're quite replaceable. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
So don't fall for that trap. Don't fall for it. You are replaceable. If you have a really specific, unique job which is not replaceable, good for you. That's great. But there are very few in the world that actually have that position, such as like a CEO. Even a CEO nowadays is easy to find. It's not like there are a dime a dozen now. Like before, you had like specific skill sets, but times are changing. There's a lot of people who go off and study and get experience and whatever. So people are not as unique anymore. If you just compare like graduates from like now and 30 years ago, even 20 years ago, the number is way different, right? And some people don't even go to university or college anymore and can get the same type of jobs. Times are different. So don't stay in that old traditional way. It's time to adapt.
Yeah.
And Japan isn't adapting quick enough, in my opinion, to this. And this is not just me from working in one company. This is Japan, been 6 years, almost 7 years. It's a lot of different companies, a lot of different workplaces, working for both Japanese companies and international companies. I must say, one of the Japanese companies I worked for, super progressive, super modern, very nice. So you can find some really good, places to work at. Like some employers are really good. But going back to seniority, basically seniority in Japan means superiority. So basically, the longer you work there, the more say you have, and you won't be criticized as much or in any disrespectful regard anymore. So let's say Rob was in the same situation he was in, but instead he had a manager position or maybe higher than a manager position in that company. They still wouldn't say yes, but they would listen. That's the difference, Right. They would listen to him a bit more, but maybe the answer would still be no. But they wouldn't pull him to the side and be like negativity, etc., blah, 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 right? So in Japan, the longer you work for a company, the more say you have, more or less.
Yeah. I do want to touch on real quick about, if you want to be switching your job around in Japan, it's fine. I think you can, especially if as a foreigner here, it's not that big of a deal.
The pass. Yeah.
But I do want to say that depending on the job that you get when you come here, or any job that you have at the moment, and you plan on leaving, quitting early, or switching, whatever that may be, make sure that you are organized enough and you have your fallback plan 100% set in stone. Because I was in a situation, and very briefly, I'll say that it did not go well for me. I was starting to have a falling out with my first company that I worked for when I came here, and I was trying to get out of my job earlier so I could move somewhere else for a different position. Ended up not getting that position yet, but telling my schools that I was leaving early. And I gave them a date when I was going to leave. And then my company contacted me and they said, hey, we're going to pretty much punish you for leaving and you're not going to be able to get other work because they're in control of my visa, right? So turns out I had to renewing my visa. Yes. I then,
so people don't think they have your visa in their hand. Like, hey, I'm gonna rip
they
this.
They might as well have. They might as well have.
Yeah.
Right. They said we'll stop sponsoring you. Right, and that's the whole reason why I was there. And if they stop sponsoring me early, then that would make it even harder for me to get it renewed. I wouldn't be able to actually. It was a whole thing. So what happens is that I told my schools, like, hey, I'm going to be leaving at this date. Sorry, I'm having a hard time and I'm trying to move on to something else. And my schools were very accepting of that at the time. But then my company spoke to them, and then when I returned to the schools defeated, I was shunned by the staff of those schools. And it made my last month working at those schools very, very emotionally difficult. So if you are going to switch jobs, consider who your current employers are and your options of getting out.
Don't tell anyone unless you're 100% certain you're leaving.
Exactly. I thought I was pretty sure. Turns out I wasn't sure enough. And that was my mistake. So hopefully if you're ever in a situation similar to that, you'll remember this.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're not.
I did the same thing with the company, but it's been a while. I forgot what exactly went down, but I left.
You just left.
Yeah. It happened. I can't even remember. I just bounced.
Do you want to know? You bounced. Yeah, you straight up already moved to the next place.
Do you want to know? Rob knows.
Like, I remember.
Rob remembers.
What did I say to the school?
So
was this? We're talking about the company we all worked
yes.
for. Is that what we're? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. You guys left. I stayed. I'm a good employee.
Well, you also had the best schools out of all of us.
Yeah.
also, I had a great time at my school. Let's just say. I had a really good time.
A little more.
Yeah, no, I had a great time. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Diane. I'll talk about my stuff later.
I can't remember the process of me doing this. Like the visa thing. Oh, I got hired with another company.
Yes.
in advance, and they were able to start my visa application or the changing process from an instructor's visa to a specialist in humanities visa, because I'm going from working under the school's Board of Education to an Eikaiwa, which is just English conversation type of company, school, whatever, and that has to change your visa status thingy. But I can't remember what I said to the previous company about me leaving.
If I remember correctly, well, what it is that we wanted to move closer to Tokyo.
When you say we, I'm not included.
Oh yeah. Elia's not included in this because he had plans to move back to Sweden.
Yes.
But Diane and myself wanted to move closer to Tokyo, and finding a place there is usually expensive, so we were going to be roommates to afford it.
Yeah, we were neighbors before, and then like same apartment complex, like 5 doors down or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we decided to become roommates, moving closer into Tokyo. Then later on, I got Rob working with the same company as me.
Yeah, before
after a month or so.
Yeah, before you moved there, you were able to establish your new job while you were still in your original location, which was Yamaguchi at the time. And so you had a backup. They couldn't do anything to you. You were already in the process of having your visa renewed from them.
True. While our previous company had you like on a leash. I'm just kidding.
They did. Well, because I didn't have a company lined up that could do that for me at the time. So they were just kind of like, hey, we'll make it so they can't do that at all for you, because we're just gonna stop sponsoring you right now because of contract obligations and stuff. So what I should have done is probably just like not even say anything. But that's but I liked my school, so I wanted to be honest with them and be like, hey, this is what the company is how they're kind of treating me. I'm not having a great time. I'm leaving early. Sorry about that. Right? But and that's me once again being honest with my feelings, and that doesn't fly here in the work environment. So I learned the hard way.
Let me backpedal on this imaginary bicycle we're all on.
Big bike.
So it's a very big bike. It's a 3-seater. It's one of those.
I'm in the basket
crazy.
though.
Yeah, it's a 2-seater in a basket.
True. This company we were working for was gonna move away from the area we were in. Right? They weren't getting renewed, basically. So the Board of Education renews every year. Yes, they renew every year, or every couple of years or whatever. I don't know how the system exactly works, but I got information from one of the board members, School of Education board members, that this company wasn't getting renewed in Yamaguchi, the area we were living in. So I told Rob, I told Diane, and this information, and we knew months before like the information actually got to us. So we started making plans to move and whatever, right? And that's when Diane and Rob started making Tokyo plans and going there. And for me, the teacher we had in common, Rob, offered me a position at the Board of Education to work there, because she was at the Board of Education, and she said, I'll get you in. At first, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? But then, I had other plans. I wanted to work on other things. I didn't want to be a teacher anymore. I wanted to do other stuff. I thought teaching for a year was a great experience. It was fun. And difference from Diane and Rob, in my position, I had fun. The schools I were at were super laid back. Like Kyoto Sensei and Kocho Sensei, like the principal and vice principal, they were super, super kind and great people. So I had no issues whatsoever in that regard. But the company was still not being friendly towards me, because they were like, hey, you should move to this area. We'll sponsor you. And I was like, nope, I'm not renewing. I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they got angry with me too, and they were like, okay, well, if you're leaving, well, then we can't renew your visa. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care if you renew my visa or not, because first of all, I at that time I could just get another visa super easily, and I didn't really mind in that regard too much. The problem is the way that company worked is they badmouth you to your schools like they did to Rob. Mm-hmm. Fortunately for me, my schools didn't care. I had no issues because they knew what I was doing, and I finished my term. Like I did what I was supposed to do, right? And even if you don't, listen, you do you. Your mental health, your physical health, whatever is more important than whatever a company says you have to do, right? Mm-hmm. And I will not go back, but if we talked about this before, where there was a typhoon and the water was up here and we had to swim to class, and they made us stay at school because that's what we're supposed to do. And I said, hell no, I'm leaving. And I left. And that's when my first repercussion happened, right? When I left schools to go home. Still didn't care. They were like, you're gonna get a pay deduction and blah blah. I was like, I'll get a lawyer, and they're like, we were just joking. I was okay, cool. So don't let them scare you. They try to scare you, and you know what the dirty thing is? It's that it's the foreigners in that company that talk to you and try to scare you. So the guy who talked to us, you remember that guy? He was, sorry guys, he was an asshole. Let's just be honest. He was a real asshole, and he was the mean guy. I don't know if he was told to be mean to us, or I don't know, but I wouldn't talk to my employees in that manner whatsoever, right? Like the three of us were founders of a company, but we banter a lot. You know, we talk, we joke around a lot, but I would never say anything that would hurt Rob's feelings or Diane's feelings in any way, even if whatever we're doing isn't correct.
Do you enjoy lying in 4K? Is that what you enjoy?
4K. Okay. Well,
yeah. This resolution is not 4K. We're like, I'm sorry. We're like 720p at best, guys.
You think we have money for 4K, Rob?
I can't afford 4K. Sorry. You're gonna lie to me like that? It's 780p, whatever this is. I know. I'm kidding. 780. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Ellie's not mean to me.
Okay. No. Well, I hope not. But if I am, I would like you guys to tell me, right?
Never know.
But the thing is, we've been friends for a long time, so of course we say crazy jokes and maybe not business-related jokes. Anyways, not important. The companies don't take kindly to things that are not done their way, right? We've had problems with other employees. We will not get into that. But also employees that work as teachers, just as us, but they've worked there longer, right? So they think this senpai culture in Japan for foreigners might get into their head a bit because they're not used to it from where they're from. So when they go to Japan, they're like, I'm a senpai now, so now everyone listen to me. And we were like, no thanks. And that created some problems too. But that's what annoys me the most, is that it wasn't the Japanese people that were rude or mean to us. It was the foreign people,
right?
That were mean. And
which is also very strange, because you know that they went through similar struggles that we did, but for some reason they just turned, and I guess it's kind of like, well, I went through it, so now you're gonna go through it because I gotta lash out at somebody, right? I don't know what that mentality is, but that's obviously what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got that day. You guys remember that day? We had that big meeting. We all went to that same school, and we had the meeting with all the teachers, and they were talking about people's attitudes and whatever at schools, right? That same day, that the foreign teacher boss, whatever guy, was like, yeah, you guys suck, whatever, right? he was telling, not us specifically, but all the teachers, like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And then when we leave, the Japanese lady who's in charge of us comes over to all three of us and like, hey, you guys are doing great, just keep doing what you're doing. You guys are so nice, blah, 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 blah. We're like, this is so different from what the other guy told us.
People treat us better.
Yeah. So I was like, where is this information coming from? So I did some digging. So that same teacher Rob and I had in common, which was kind to me but not so kind to Rob.
I don't know what I do to make people like not like. Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah, she told me that this company we're working for is basically, in today's language, getting canceled. Right? They've been very wish-washy with their business handlings and whatever. Right? And she's like, you guys gotta bounce. Don't worry about everything. Like, the Board of Education will support you guys. They know who you are, etc., etc., etc. Right? So we had that down for us. But you guys already had plans to leave, and I had plans to leave. So we never stayed in Yamaguchi. But we could have if we wanted to, because the Board of Education did want some teachers to stay back, because they liked the teachers there. Apparently, we were the most liked teachers in like many years in that area.
I didn't know that.
And and that's why they wanted to renew us, but they couldn't. So they wanted us to move to the other. Do you remember the other company that took over? I don't remember their name, but another company took over, and they said we could sign a contract with them. But already being tired of these kind of companies, we were like, nah. But yes, yeah. I don't know. I just have to say that. Be careful what you say before you leave. If you do have another job lined up, such as Diane did, everything turns out great. But sometimes you might be a Rob and not a Diane, and things might not go as planned, unfortunately. Honestly, if Rob's work thing had gone through, you wouldn't have gone through this situation. But unfortunately, because it kind of fell out, it happened.
It's bad timing.
So, yeah. Long story short, don't tell anyone what you're doing. Just do what you have to do, and then the last day be like, peace. Because otherwise, you might get some repercussions or whatever, right? Also, please read your contracts, because when we signed the contract, I was reading through it, and apparently you can get no pay if you're being disobedient, and they can hold back your pay for any reason, basically. Fortunately, they never did. Well, to me. I don't know if it happened to anyone else, but
not me. That would suck.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they can deduct your pay. They can whatever. I think it works in some countries too, but in Sweden it doesn't. They can't deduct your pay, but they can, you get repercussions, of course. I know. You guys remember that one guy that couldn't pass the drug test? I don't know if you guys remember him. So this one guy couldn't pass the drug test because apparently, according to him, the drug thing didn't work properly. So he had to do the test again. Yeah, he had to do the test again. And in this company, they were very, very strict about drug testing and whatever and etc. This guy worked for a whole year without being drug tested. So, so some people just fly by, under the radar, and some people don't. So it depends, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to talk about uniforms and clothing, which is very important in Japan. I don't think a lot of people think about this, but first of all, being a big person or a tall person isn't very helpful in Japan. It's quite difficult to find clothes in Japan. I'm not very tall. Well, I'm taller than average, but I'm like, compared to basketball players, I'm not that tall. I'm in centimeters, I'm 180-ish centimeters. I don't know what that is in feet. You guys can probably look it up. I don't know.
I can't
5'11".
convert that easily.
I'm 183 and that's 6 foot.
180. Okay, maybe.
I'm 150.
Sure. Yeah.
4'11 and a half.
You're 4 foot.
And a half, guys. And a half.
Okay.
I'm probably shrinking because of my back.
I edit the video. You're 4'10". No,
rubbing each other. I'm getting old.
So uniforms and clothing attire, just as most countries, is a requirement. But Japan takes it to the next level. If you're working as a teacher in the summer, you're still required to wear a suit. We've talked about this before. You're required to wear a suit in the blazing heat. And I know today, as of today, when we're recording this, I don't know what date is, it's actually 40 degrees in Japan. So if you were working today in a suit, it sucks.
Heat rash.
It really sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're only wearing a shirt and a jacket. You're actually some people wear vests too. Some people wear, some people wear like undershirts and whatever. So it's really hot. So if you're one of those the people that might get hot very quickly, I recommend investing in, is it called Airism?
Airism. This is actually Airism right now. This is an undershirt, but it's so hot.
This is too Airism, the black thing underneath. Airism.
This is not Airism because I live in Sweden and it's never hot.
Nice.
They also have Heat Tech, which is good for the winter time. Does the opposite.
Yes, it's the opposite. Yeah.
I have that. Yep. I have everything.
Yeah. Uniqlo is your friend, not a sponsor. Get them there.
Hey, Uniqlo,
but yes,
what's
you're
up?
required to wear. Yeah, Uniqlo. Hello. Yay, Airism. Woo. But you are required to wear a suit. So in some schools, like I asked them, I was like, do I really need to wear a suit? Because I saw other teachers switching their clothes. They weren't wearing suits anymore unless it was like some parents were coming over or whatever, right? It was a normal day. They could wear maybe like a sports t-shirt and some, never shorts. They didn't allow shorts whatsoever, but you could wear like these really thin workout pants, whatever they're called. Yeah, I don't know. So some are okay. And I know that in a lot of fields in Japan, which there are uniforms, you have to have pristine clothes on, like not even a smudge of dirty. Like, if it's a little dirty, they'll send you home or they'll make you get a new one or whatever, right? So please be careful, especially if you're working in a field where you have to have a uniform on. I have never worked in a uniform-based workplace, but I have to wear a suit a lot, and I still wear suits a lot, and it sucks when it's really hot, especially since I like to wear vests because I like to look, pristine. So
I have 4 jobs in Japan, and all 4 are different in uniform or outfits. I'll just mention our first company, since we all know, we had to wear some kind of, suit up, formal, or blouse, or formal, semi-formal. It's easier for the non-men because we have like thinner clothes and we don't have to wear like suits for females. We can wear like a thin button-up or some kind of cardigan and a nice underneath shirt, blouse. And it was I think it was pretty much same all year round, because there's cool bids. You guys can remove the blazer.
Yeah, we can remove the jacket.
We were never forced to wear a blazer or anything like that, I think. Yeah, because I know I started fresh in Japan, and they're telling us to dress super nicely, but then when you're there, you don't see any of the teachers doing that. They're dressed more comfortably. And then when I asked them about it, they're like, yeah, you can wear this. You can wear jeans. Yeah. Just like wear a nice top.
It was just our company's preference to represent them.
Yeah.
It wasn't the school itself. So.
Yeah. It's more for them than it is for you. So
so for only for a week, maybe a week and a half, I was still wearing like blazer suit style. And I was like, this is so hot and uncomfortable right now. It's tight. And I like to be comfortable. I like to live a comfortable life, as much as I can. So immediately when I found out I could do that, I was like, nope, bye. And then I went to Uniqlo and I bought all these cardigans. So I still looked not like too casual, but semi-formal / more on the casual side. And then
I love the cool biz things.
Yeah, that's good. That's some human rights right there.
Yeah,
human rights.
Some human rights, thank goodness.
Yeah. Then, so the next, I was gonna continue.
No,
it's all good.
Go.
The next company, I was teaching for a few months, and then I became assistant manager and then manager. But our dress style,
dress code,
pretty the same. Dress code, dress code. Sorry. I think mine was fairly the same. We were able to wear. Well, we were not required to wear suits at all, at least for the girls. And I had a bunch of dresses and tops with skirts and stuff. So formal, but I had some fancy looking outfits ish, and you can wear heels, and I had booties and stuff. So it was more relaxed for me, more comfortable in the summer wearing thin dresses and stuff. For the current company I'm working for, they have a specific polo shirt with like the logo on there, and you have to wear that every time. You can't wear it outside though. So when you have to bring your shirt. When you get there, you change. And then the pants, since we are working with children, and we move around a lot, we're allowed to wear comfortable pants. You can't wear jeans. You can wear. I have yoga pants, and like leggings and stuff. For the winter, I can wear sweatpants. And so does everyone else.
No.
The Japanese staff and the foreign staff. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Since you're sitting down, getting up, moving around a lot, depending on your class, as long as you have the polo shirt on, and then, like, don't have holes in your sweatpants or anything like that.
Yeah.
Then it's fine. Yeah, it's pretty comfortable, except like the polo gets hot in the summer. And then working at the bar is like the most free I can get. I can wear literally anything. I can wear this. I would never wear a suit there. The boss would either. Like long sleeve jumpers, skirts, even like super showy clothes, dresses too if I wanted to. Yeah. Any kind of shoes.
It's very different from company to company. So maybe just ask whatever company you're at, or if you are working for a company like we used to, and you go to specific schools, ask every school what's okay and what's not okay. I know Rob and I, even in the summer, we wore suits because I still remember your very nice shirt. When I went to your school, you remember when we had to listen in? I went to your school, Rob. Yeah. Yeah. So it's different. It's different depending on the school and depending on what job, but there's always some dress code requirement. And I know it must be the same in a lot of different countries, but some workplaces, like when I used to work, before I went to the company we all work for, it was suit. Like you're not allowed to wear anything except even the women have to wear some kind of business suit-ish type. Women usually wear the skirts with the blazer and the white shirt, and men black blazer, black pants, white shirt. Boom. And if you come with a blue suit like I did, maybe not the best idea.
I had a blue
I was
suit.
fly, Yeah, I came there with like this really like blue like vest and suit with this nice. I was looking fly. I was happy about it.
I don't think I had a black
compliment.
suit. Did you have a black suit at all?
Yeah.
Oh,
I had 3 suits. I had because I knew that we were going to need a lot of suits and it was going to get hot. So I had a blue one, I had a black one, and I had like a beigeish kind of suit.
Yeah.
Well, the pants were beigeish, right? But I used the black blazer jacket thing, right? I didn't use the jacket for it because you can mismatch, right? You can change as a man,
Right.
or in that if you want to wear those kind of clothes, you can switch up a lot. And I would recommend that if you move to Japan, buy a lot of different shirts. You can use like 2 or 3 different blazers or jackets and the pants, but the shirts are the most important part because it's so hot in Japan. And even in the summer at some jobs, they don't let you come without a blazer. They might allow you to hang it up when you're at work, but usually if you're at meetings, you have to wear it. And also it's air conditioned in some parts, so it might be okay. But the schools we worked at were not. It was hot. And when there's 40, 50 people in a classroom and you're moving around with a suit on, it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. It doesn't work.
I got a heat rush that first company.
Yeah.
I had to play outside in the sun with them. Oh, the sweat was trapped inside when I had to wear the suit, or when I thought I had to.
Yeah.
I don't miss running around in a suit.
No,
I don't miss
no,
it.
I don't. No. Oh yeah, the reason why I brought up Rob and visiting Rob's school is because it was myself. You remember that other teacher that goes around to different schools and checks in on us from time to time? That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
I don't want to. I'm being very vague right now. So that guy, and was it another guy? the one more. Okay, so it was us. Diane, were you there? Did you come? I don't think so.
I don't know if you ever observed me. Did you?
Yeah.
You remember? I hope not. Anyway.
If people are super confused, sometimes in your schedules, you might have a day off. Like you don't have any classes or you don't have any schools to go to because maybe the school is busy or they don't have any English classes. So what they make you do instead is they go make you watch another teacher to fill up your time. Sometimes you're lucky and they just tell you be on standby. If we call you, you have to work. If you don't, then you're off that day, right? Mm-hmm. It depends. I had one of those days the whole year. I knew people were off like every Thursday or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. It was crazy. I wasn't. It's okay, I don't mind. So we went and we observed Rob, and we were all wearing suits. And Rob being the people watching him, I get it. Of course he wants to up the level, of the class. Rob was very, interacting with the kids a lot, maybe as he does it normally too, but it was hot and I could see Rob suffering from the heat. I was just standing still and I was sweating, Rob moving around, talking to the kids, this guy has a question, Rob goes there, that person has a question, Rob goes there. It gets
very
really,
animated.
Really hot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So please be careful in the heat. In Japan, especially not because it's humid too. So you got the worst of two worlds,
Drink water.
Drink water. One thing I do want to add, for those of you who are not interested in becoming teachers or working in politics or whatever, like I did before, or working at, whatever jobs Rob and Diane have done before. If you're in IT or computer science or any field, like in engineering, they are quite unique to all other companies. The reason being is that they're one of the few companies that are actually adapting and advancing. People can work at home at some point nowadays because of the virus. Things have changed, right? So people are working from home. The dress code is quite light, like a dress shirt, but it's like a t-shirt, instead of the long sleeve, with some very casual pants. It's way different from other fields. So if you're an engineer, or in computer science, IT, whatever, programming, good for you. It might be a lot easier for you to survive the heat, especially because those buildings are also massive and good. So they have a lot of air conditioning. I remember when we visited some locations in Tokyo, like programming locations in IT, because I was just interested to see. Those buildings are crazy. Please go look at those buildings. They're amazing. A lot of them are really well, like the Sony building is wow. It's just crazy. The Nintendo building is it's if you work in those fields, I'm happy for you. You'll do great. You'll beat the heat. Yeah. Any last words from you guys? Anything you guys want to add?
Nothing I can think of.
I think we covered a lot today. So yeah, hopefully people can use this information to benefit them if they ever plan on coming to Japan and plan on staying for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And if you do have any questions about work life in Japan, or anything dress code related, or seniority, criticism, racism, anything we talked about today, or any other podcast we've done previously or in the future, if you're from there, let us know. Send us a message on Instagram, hopefully mostly here on YouTube, so that we can, interact with you. Or if you're just listening to this, cool, good for you. Send us some questions, let us know what you want. Is there anything interesting you want us to talk about? That would be great. But please press that like, subscribe, the bell if you're really interested. And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening and watching, or maybe both. If you muted us and just looking at our faces, awesome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
If you see my mouth moving, you don't know what I'm saying, awesome. I do that too to myself sometimes. I mute myself in real life.
Happens to the best of us,
Yeah. Yeah. I tune myself out, trust me. It's okay. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate you every day, and have a great evening, day, whatever you're at. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.